Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Houston Roundball Review presents Folks Talkin Sports. I am Kris Gardner, one of the hosts of the show. Joining me on the screen, and when you listen to it on the podcast platform, is Andy Yanez from Everything. Andy Yanez is part Jamaican. He works for Pawd, Slama, Jama, the community impact newspaper, Gallery Sports. What is it? Gallery Sports Furniture? What is it? What is the official thing of Gallery Sports? What is that?
It is just Gallery Sports, not the furniture. It's not included in the
Sports.
title. And waiting for the rain to subside. Okay, I mean, there's reports that the rain is not that bad in the Bronx, but they have delayed it. So once that game does start, I will be tasked with covering Game 4 for Sports Map Houston. I'm not sure how directly they're affiliated with ESPN 97.5 Houston, but that's another cool thing I get to do for them, to be able to cover the Astros in that capacity, which is awesome.
See, like I said, Andy is part Jamaican.
And so, not counting Let's Rage Cougs that we did yesterday. Apparently, people do not like Let's Rage Cougs in the middle of the day. We need more night games after, well, obviously there was a whole lot of factors, and this is coming off probably the most complete game, the best game of the Houston Cougars football team all season long, what they were able to do to Navy. But kind of a sorry, Kris, not to go on a tangent, but shameless plug. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, be sure to do so in the archives of the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. You can see it in the recent streams where Dan Dunlap, Kris Gardner joined us as well, and we recapped everything of Houston Navy and their 38-20 win.
All right, there he is. We got Willy Gibson and our guest, the youngest of this soon-to-be foursome on the screen. Going to bring Willy Gibson in first to get Will prepared. Willy, how are you, sir?
Good, gentlemen. How are you?
You covered another Browns loss. We'll talk about that later on. Mm-hmm. But joining us, Gabe, are you ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. All right. Going to bring in Gabe Warren. It's 2 weeks in a row. We're going to talk to a commit to the Rice Owls men's basketball program. It would be great if the Rice Owls coaching staff is watching us right now. But we're going to bring in Gabe Warren. I think Gabe is in Arizona. So we're going to bring him in on Folks Talkin Sports. And it's going to be new because none of us have met Gabe Warren yet. Mr. Young Man, Gabe Warren, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How about yourself?
We're doing great. Now you're joining Andy Yanez and Willy Gibson, and I'm Kris Gardner on Folks Talkin Sports. Let's get right into it. You announced your commitment to the Rice Owls and Green Light U, as they like to refer to it, a few days ago. So what was the reasoning behind that, the thought process, and we got a lot of questions for you in this time, so just be ready, young man. So first off, why Rice?
Honestly, I just felt most welcomed and wanted and comfortable with the coaching staff. I felt comfortable with the players. Seeing Keanu come in and talking to him, I felt comfortable with him, and it just felt like home. Honestly, I guess that's the best answer I could give you. It just feels like home.
How many other official visits did you make?
I didn't make any other official visits. I had opportunities to, but I just decided that Rice was the spot I wanted to be.
What other schools offered you scholarships?
TCU, UC Riverside, Utah Tech, San Jose State, Nicholls State, and a couple more.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'5".
How much do you weigh?
205.
205. Okay, Will, Andy, that might be as much as Keanu weighs, I think, right? Yeah. Keanu is 6'8", and I think he said, Keanu last week said he's like 205, 210, something like whatever. Gabe, did you have a growth spurt like Keanu has in high school?
Not really. When I entered high school, I was about 6'1", and I kind of just steadily kind of grew. Honestly, I didn't have any like sporadic growth or anything.
Okay, because Keanu told us he went from 6'2" to now 6'8".
Wow.
So, yeah. Okay, how would you describe your game, your skill set?
I feel that I'm very well rounded. I play very hard. I high motor. Um, I play a lot of defense. That's one of my strong suits. But I also get to the basket very well. But I can also knock down a shot off the catch and shoot. And I'm perfecting other things on the offensive end as well.
What high school do you attend right now?
Dream City Christian.
And what city, what state is that located?
It's located in Arizona, Phoenix. It's in Phoenix, Glendale, Arizona.
Okay, then I got to ask, a Glendale, Arizona prospect, how did you learn of Rice University in Houston?
Oh, I'm from Dallas, so this is my first months out here. But I'm from Dallas. I went to John Paul II last year, one state in Texas. So yes, so I'm a Texas native.
Okay, I knew that, but I just wanted you to say it. But again, how much did you know about Rice ahead of all this process?
Growing up, you heard a lot about Rice just because their academics and stuff like that. It's like the Ivy League of the South. So, I value academics. I have a very high GPA and stuff like that. I take classwork very seriously. So I knew about them. When they offered me, honestly, a year ago on the 26th. So I've known them for a while. Just kind of let the process run out. But I've known a lot about Rice always.
Andy, Will, you guys have questions for Gabe Warren, the newest commit to Rice men's basketball?
I do. First of all, Gabe, congratulations on your commitment to Rice. I have to start with your Twitter handle, GDW_hard work. Explain that, the hard work piece.
So I made that when I was a couple years ago, and I just feel like I'm a very hard worker. Like I'm a workhorse. I love staying in the gym. I love perfecting things. I love just keep getting better. Like this is my second year only playing basketball. I've always played dual sports. I played football all the way to my sophomore year. So I had a lot of catching up to do in basketball. But like if it wasn't for my work ethic, I don't think I would have did that.
And you mentioned your academics. What do you plan to study at Rice?
I want to be a chemical engineer. I know that would be tough while being on the basketball court. So I'm kind of figuring out, but I've always wanted to be a chemical engineer. I know that's what I want to be, but I'm trying to figure out like a side quest major while we're in season and things like that. The best thing so I can produce on the basketball court and academically.
Andy, how about you?
Yeah, I just want to go back. First of all, like Will said, congratulations on making your commit. And pretty soon you're going to be in the city at Rice, but kind of taking a step back. And can you talk a little bit about what your conversations were like? And really much more what your relationships were like with Scott Pera and that coaching staff. Like you mentioned, they did a really good job of being able to kind of make you feel like they were the program for you, much more of that family atmosphere. Can you just expand a little bit about, what those conversations were like whenever they were recruiting you?
Yeah, like they just expressed how much they believed in me from the jump. My first conversation was with Coach Howe at the TABC last year. I did very well, and he saw something in me from the jump. We continued to build a relationship, and then Coach Scott Pera actually called me one night and offered me a scholarship, and we just developed a bond and relationship. We just developed a bond and relationship for almost a year, like I said. And on my official visit, it just I felt so like whole and welcome. Just like it was just a crazy feeling, honestly. Just their excitement, and you could tell it was all pure interactions and things like that. And our just the relationship with the whole staff is great. The team chemistry is great. Seeing them practice and things like that. So and meeting them. So that's all.
When you hear the term, phrase, slogan, "Green Light You," what does that mean to you?
I think that just means like trusting the players. Honestly, to me, There's not a lot of places that would put that slogan. They try to put like handcuffs on you at a lot of places, but I feel like Coach Scott and Coach Howell and the whole Rice program, they kind of just trust the players that they have, and you know that's how they win. Like, and then the three ball, how they shoot threes and stuff like that. So that's definitely a part in it.
When you made your official visit, was Keanu Dawes with you on that visit?
No, he was not. He was not on me with that visit. Yeah, I haven't officially met him in person yet, but can't wait to.
But you two have connected?
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely.
Are you on what is it, Andy? The gram?
Instagram? Are you on TikTok, Instagram? What's your social media look like?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Twitter. So, my Instagram is GD. Sorry, that's my Twitter. My Twitter is TDW_hardwork, and then my Instagram is G Warren _21.
Did you make your announcement on Instagram?
Yes, sir, I did.
See, that's what the youngsters do now. Will make their announcements on Instagram. We're getting there. At some point, I'd love for us this show to be part of that process when young high school kids prospect and make their announcements on this show. So, Gabe, you and Keanu, we're not quite at that level, but you and Keanu are part of our growth in talking to young players after they commit, announce their commitment. So, thank you very much for taking time to do this.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in college or NBA you pat on your game?
Pat, I've just like growing up, I watched a lot of, my dad put me on a lot of Kobe, Michael, and of course in this generation, LeBron, and then Kyrie, KD, Ja Morant, of course. I loved watching Ja Morant because, he's elite. And then those are really the guys I have my eye on right now. Like, I just watch a lot of their games and highlights and stuff like that.
Do you have a favorite player?
Right now, I would say it is Ja Morant. Like, I haven't seen, like, it's crazy what he's doing. Prime Russ almost.
And who would you compare your game to in the NBA?
In the NBA, who would I compare my game to? Oh man, that's a tough one. I feel like I have like a mix. Like, I value defense like Pat Bev.
Oh,
I have a lot of athleticism, so I would put like LeBron athleticism in there, and then yeah, that's about it.
Well, what are your thoughts when you hear that?
Very impressive, because you don't hear many young players emphasize defense, and to emphasize defense with Pat Bev that's impressive.
Gabe, on your visit and your talks with the Rice coaching staff, what was, I guess, kind of their recruiting pitch to you in terms of how they plan on utilize you in the system, the offense at Rice?
Yeah, so on the offensive end, they will have me more of a guard. And on the defensive end, they want me to be guarding the 1 through 4. So they can envision me guarding the 1 through 4. The 5 is iffy, I'm not that big. So, but the 1 through 4, I think definitely handle. And on the offensive end, of course, they will have me as shooting guard. And, they utilize their shooting guards a lot. So I will have a big role on both sides of the floor, on the floor.
Did any of the coaches talk to you about the move to the American Athletic Conference?
Yes, that was a huge combo in it. Yeah, we talked a lot about that.
And what was your feedback to them about going to the American?
I'm excited about that. Honestly, like, that's a huge accomplishment of Rice. Moving up to that conference. It's a really good conference, and I love that we're moving up into that conference. I want to play those guys, and I'm very excited for my freshman year.
What's the timetable for you to arrive on campus, and I guess either enroll in classes or get ready to be a right student athlete?
I honestly don't have a solid answer for you in that for that question yet. So I don't want to butcher it. I don't have a solid answer.
No, that's fair. Is there? I mean, I don't. This is probably kind of strange about a Rice student. Is there any chance that you would enroll in the spring, enroll early, so graduate from high school like in December and then go to Rice in January?
I don't think that's what I'll do. But no, I don't think that's what I'm gonna do. I never really thought about it like that. But I don't think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play my my high school season out, which is why I'm here. To get better, be prepared. Just step foot on the floor. And I'm gonna finish that out. Try to win the grind session, and then I'm gonna step foot on Rice and hopefully be ready and impact from the jump.
What are parts of your game that you would like to strengthen and get better?
I've been working hard on shooting off the dribble, like threes. I feel like my mid-range is pretty strong now and getting to the rim, and I'm a really good catch and shooter. But I feel like I could work on coming off screens and hitting that three ball and things of that nature. And I could definitely improve. I could always improve on my handle. You never can perfect handle for real. There's always the next step. And shooting, you want to always keep striving and getting up shots and stuff like that. So.
And once again, with Gabe Warren is joining us here on Folks Talkin Sports this evening. Gabe committed to the Rice Owls men's basketball program and head coach Scott Pera a few days ago. Andy, Will, do you have any more questions for Gabe?
No, sir.
I don't.
Okay, this is great, Gabe. Thank you very much as always. I'm not sure, I saw someone in your family retweet and like the tweet about you being on today. So whoever that was, thank them for us. We appreciate the exposure. So is there any last thing you want to say to Rice Owls fans or Gabe Warren fans?
I just want to thank y'all for having me. For real. Thank y'all for the opportunity to come on here and discuss my commitment. And thank you for the people that wanted to hear about it.
You're welcome, man. Thank you very much for taking time to join us this evening. And we'll keep in touch. Good luck this season. And we will see you when you arrive on Rice campus.
Yes, sir. Thank you. See you then.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
All right. Excellent. And stars they're not a big deal to us here on Folks Talkin Sports, but in their recruiting services, Gabe is a 3-star, quote unquote, 3-star. Mm-hmm. So Keanu Dawes is a 4-star. Now Gabe is a 3-star, and they're both going to Rice. So kudos to head coach Scott Pera and his staff in Rice Owls men's basketball. Awesome. All right, Will. We were touching on this, and I'm going to go ahead and play the clip from head coach Kelvin Sampson before this was Friday, before Saturday's scrimmage against Texas. Andy's going to talk more about the scrimmage of what he heard from his sources. He wrote an article on Gallery Sports website that a friend of mine sent to me, as if I didn't already know. but anyway.
Yeah, Kris, you, me, and then a friend of the show couldn't get on, and James, we're having a whole bunch of conversations on it.
Yeah. So, let me just play the clip from Coach Sampson, and then we'll get more info from Andy. And after Coach Sampson's comments here on Folks Talkin Sports.
In general, for scrimmages, do you and the other team's coach go over things you wanted to work on?
Yeah. Which we said before. Like one year, it was during the scrimmage. I just blew the whistle. I called the other coach over. I said, you know what? Let's put a low shot clock to work on our low shot clock stuff. Whether it's baseline out of bounds, sideline out of bounds. It's just getting certain situations. I did that last year. Like we don't zone, So how much do you think we've worked on zone offense? Zero. So I may say zone, and I'll draw some. I'm saying this is how we look at it because we haven't seen it. Because we're getting to the point now, starting November 7th, we may see a zone. So we work on zone in practice just so we can work against it. Come game time, if people's on us. So end of the half stuff. You got a timeout. You haven't used it. Calling timeout. What are you running? Clock is somewhere between 52 and 47. To me, that's 2 for 1 range. What are you going to do 2 for 1? Things that as a coach you've got to have your team prepared for. So we'll just get in those situations and we'll let both teams have the ball 4 or 5 possessions, and the next team will have it 4 or 5 possessions. So it's not like we're playing a game. It's not a game. It's a scrimmage where the other coach may look and say, Coach, you mind doing this? And see how we do against it. And that's what we do. It's all about your team. Then next week, scrimmage. The mistakes that are the most egregious from this week, we'll spend time working on those. And I may ask that coach, you do this, and he may say, you do this, and do that. And we just work against each other.
All right, Will, so what are your thoughts on what you just heard from Coach Sampson?
Before I get my thoughts, I got a question. Was that practice?
Yes.
You guys, wow, that's impressive.
Well, Andy, you're muted. It was the end of practice.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's post-practice. They're just shooting around the background. Their practice has been completed by the time they let media in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that was okay. Okay, that's the whole time I'm listening, but I'm watching like, man, they get to go to practice?
Yeah.
Like,
The only opening practice we saw was like the first day.
Yeah, first day where they were mostly just warming up, doing drills.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Will. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. My fault. No. My fault. To answer your question. Yeah, it's an opportunity to beat up on someone else, so to speak, for lack of a better term. You get tired of seeing, red and white all day, every day in practice. So you have an opportunity to go against, in this case, the burnt orange. And so, and as you said, trying things out to develop your team, to develop situational basketball. You mentioned, between 52 and 47, the 2 for 1 situation, zone offense, low shot clock, baseline out of bounds, things like that. So, I mean, you can practice that team-wise all day, every day, but to see it against opposition before the season is tremendous.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go to Andy Yanez, who got more info about the not-so-secret scrimmage. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so I guess we might as well start with the structure, because I found it interesting how it was structured, or at least what I was told is they technically played 3 different periods, but they had 2 where they were set up kind of traditional 20-minute halves for the quote-unquote, and in between those 2 20-minute periods, they had a bit of a halftime where the 2 programs even got to go to like the locker room and stuff like that. And from what I was told, that first period, quote-unquote, it was a very defensive battle. I mean, Houston and Texas, I guess focusing from the Houston perspective, they really struggled to make shots offensively in that. Again, you can't see me. I'm quoting when I say that first half. But when it came to that second period, it was Houston was able to start making more shots and create some separation. I was told that there were moments where Houston struggled, particularly with foul trouble in that scrimmage against Texas. That I guess, not to get too far ahead, but if you want to look at it from a score aspect, and Kris, I know this is something that you were told too, just in terms of after those 2 20-minute periods, it was Houston that had the edge over Texas if you add up the scores. But really, it seemed like Texas, first of all, did a good job of being able to expose is probably not the right word, but kind of show Houston, Will, like you said, an opportunity to see a different team. And at this point, they're 3. I think it might be heading into week 4 of their training camp that they've had of playing against each other, being able to see what they need to work on against different opponents with now almost 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks from tomorrow, when the season tips off on November 7th. If I guess the main thing that everyone wants to know is what players start. And Jeff Goodman reported this. I was told something similar. And Kris, I'm sure you were told the same thing, that the players for Houston stood out were Jarris Walker, Marcus Sasser, and Tremont Mark offensively, and Jamal Shed. Even though he wasn't hitting his shots, he was a very, very good player in terms of being able to facilitate and really be that point guard for Houston, for the Houston Cougars offense, which is not surprising. We saw something similar along those lines in the red and white scrimmage that they had just last week, the inter-team scrimmage that they had that was open to fans at the Fertitta Center. But Kris, I'll toss it over to you to fill in some points that I might have missed. The 10-minute period that I mentioned, that was much more for the underclassmen and for the walk-on. So it wasn't, that was just it was its own separate period for those players. But that's pretty much all the scoop I have.
And it's I got people, friends, contacts. What do you hear about the scrimmage? What do you hear about the scrimmage? What do you know? What do you know? And this is after I told them it's a scrimmage. This is after I told them this is after I sent them the video interview with Coach Sampson saying the same thing. It's a scrimmage.
And to add on to the point, I mean, what Kelvin said a week ago after the red and white scrimmage, he said it's an important thing for the program to be able to, again, like you said, will be able to face off against someone that isn't yourself. And the phrase that Kelvin said, I can't remember, I'm quoting him directly, but he said something along the lines where the team needs to be exposed, and the earlier the better for the team as they get into the 2022-23 season. If you look at the final score, Houston came out on top, but that wasn't the focus. That was never the focus for any of these scrimmages. To kind of piggyback off Allen Iverson, it's not a game. I guess it's practice. It's a scrimmage. So don't run away and say, all the Houston fans, we beat Texas. No.
But and some fans will do that. And to those fans, I'm going to say this. A few years ago, UH scrimmaged Baylor, okay? UH won that, quote unquote, won that scrimmage. When UH played Baylor in the Final Four, what happened? Okay. Baylor waxed Houston, okay, in the Final Four. So scrimmage, pump your brakes, people, okay? It's a scrimmage. Some players did well. Some players, everybody has things to work on because that's the whole point of a scrimmage. And as Coach Sampson said, to work on, look at the film tomorrow, work on things that they need to improve. They scrimmage this coming Saturday against Duke, to work on some more things and get better, try to improve in this scrimmage, and to get ready for the season opener with the exhibition opener on November 7th. This is all a process. So I just get a kick out of the enthusiasm from fans about it. But overall, it is a scrimmage. Okay. Will, and my apologies for this, man. I sent it to Andy. I didn't send it to you. Who was it, Andy? Gonzaga and
Tennessee.
Texas? Tennessee, that's it.
In Texas,
neutral site, are going to have an exhibition game on pay-per-view.
Really?
For charity.
On pay-per-view. Yes. $10, right? $10, I think it is.
Let me get it real quick and I'll give you the specifics.
But yeah, pay-per-view, yes. Tennessee.
$9.99.
Mm-hmm.
And they even have a countdown for it. 5 days, 1 hour, and 43 seconds until the college basketball is. And look at how they advertise it. College basketball is back. Preseason action hits the hardwood in Frisco, Texas for the Legends of Basketball Classic. SEC powerhouse Tennessee takes on annual national championship contender Gonzaga to jumpstart the 2022-23 season. Everything is bigger in Texas, including this top 10 matchup that features Mark Few and Rick Barnes commanding their teams in the Lone Star State. Proceeds from the event benefit the McLendon Foundation. Watch the game only on pay-per-view. For scrimmage, essentially, I guess.
What are your thoughts on that, Will?
I'm sorry, who do the proceeds benefit?
The McLendon Scholar. Let me look it up. See what that is. I think it is. Yes, the John McLendon Minority Scholarship Foundation.
Okay, that's commendable.
So John McLendon is a legend.
Absolutely.
in basketball.
Absolutely.
goes back to James Naismith. Truly a legend in basketball.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a scrimmage, and I mean, kudos to the marketing people that chose to do this. But yeah, I don't have much.
Okay, I'm going to try something, Andy. I've watched you do it. I'm going to try something here on Folks Talkin Sports. Let's see if it works. Will, I'm old. So
you said that. I didn't say that.
I'm not as high tech as Andy is. So it may take me a few seconds to get it. And hopefully the volume is good. But we're going to talk about Big 12 media rights and conference payouts. But assuming I get it done correctly, we're going to hear from Andrew Marchand, the sports media columnist for the New York Post. He had this little clip is from his podcast with sports business journalist John Oran. So it's Oran and Marchand do a very good job on their podcast. Mm-hmm. But let me see if I can pull this up. I'm going to hope I do things correctly in my steps. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, well, I got to do one more thing, and then hopefully I'll play it correctly, and then we'll go from there. So cross your fingers and your toes, everybody. Let's see if I can get it done. Let's see here. Okay, so the next thing I got to do is play it. So hopefully it will work once I click on that play button. So let's see here. Let me see. Where did it go? Just lost it. Let's see.
I think there could be a deal to be done. I think the sides are apart at the moment, but there's movement. Look, if I'm the Big 12, I might wait, quite honestly, because if you go 16 months from now, you can bring in all the other players and negotiate with them. If I'm ESPN and to a lesser degree Fox, I'm being a little more aggressive. If I'm them, I want to box out those other. I don't want Amazon to have a chance at this. Let them have go have the Pac-12 and let that go into oblivion. And if I'm the and if I'm ESPN, is it going to cost me more in a year and a half than it is now? I would say it's going to cost you more than so. If you pay a little bit more than you really want right now, it probably makes sense.
Yeah, I generally agree with you. I think that expansion is sort of no longer on the table as an immediate concern right now. It looks like. I think that the Big 12, if they waited, could certainly get some more money. But expansion is still out there as a possibility. If I'm the Big 12 and I have ESPN and Fox, really the two networks that run college football, I want to get that deal done. I want to get it done quickly, and I want to make a statement.
Well, let me now add. Andrew Marchand reported that ESPN and Fox are currently willing to per year media rights. This is media rights, so it's going to be different than conference payout. Media rights are willing to pay $350 to $360 million to the Big 12 for the media rights package, and Brett Yormark is looking for $400 million per year for the media rights package. So that is roughly $33 million per, which is about $5 to $8 million more, an increase than what they're currently getting right now. So based on that, what do you think? Do you think, Andy, you as well, you and Andy, you and Will, do you think you agree with Andrew? Should the Big 12 wait until 2024 for their initial exclusive negotiating window? Or should they, as has been reported in the last few days, reach an agreement by the end of this month with this bump in pay with ESPN and Fox now?
If it's me, you have to go with now, because who knows in 16 months what will happen. You don't know what, I mean, it sounds like, oh yeah, you have 360 in the building now. So, and to say I'm holding out for 400, I mean, this isn't. I may be shallow in saying this. I don't know, but this isn't. This isn't Rockefeller Records. I'm sorry. I was trying not to say it. I really was. But this isn't strong. You're not going to strong arm a TV network for $40 million. You're not. And you're not negotiating from a position of power. They are. So to say I want 400 million, I'm holding out for 400 million when they're offering 350, 360. I hope that works out for you if you choose to wait. But I don't see a benefit in waiting. A lot can change. Who thought USC and UCLA would be in the Big Ten in March of this year? You don't know. So that's okay. Interesting.
Andy, what do you say?
I agree. I think it's certainly tough to pass up to get it. I'll use the phrase guaranteed, but though it is guaranteed now, if you could get a deal similar to that now, I think if you look at it from the perspective of Brett Yormark, and if you are in his shoes, I think it comes down to how confident you are that where you can position the Big 12 in terms of brand. Whenever we've heard him talk countless times, that seems to be the buzzword he likes to use in terms of the brand of the Big 12. Can you build that up to a point where 16 months down the road it is at a much more lucrative, much more attractive spot than it is now? And they mentioned it right there in the clip, just in terms of that big what if, and that comes with expansion. I think if you could somehow find middle grounds in terms of getting a deal agreed that is along those payouts, that might have some clauses in between of expansion. If more teams were to join the Big 12, that could be something that would probably be in the best interest of the Big 12. Just in terms of that probably being the most thing that adds value to the conference as a whole, at least immediate value in a short term. But it's tricky. It's hard to pass up guaranteed money. And like you said, something that is the constantly changing landscape in college football, especially since it would be a guaranteed, and like they mentioned in the clip, it's ESPN and Fox. So when it comes from an exposure standpoint, those are the two networks you want to be in now. The big question is they're always going to be behind the SEC and the Big 10, but that's the network.
That's not going to change. So yeah,
there's nothing they're going to do about that. But it's a tricky situation, and it all comes down to you can build a brand up to the point where it's not just talk, and they are at a standpoint where they are much more lucrative, they are more attractive from a fiscal standpoint, and I'm not entirely too sure about that. So I have to agree with Will. I would take the guaranteed money now if that's on the table.
I agree, and I'm going to play some comments from Commissioner Yormark from Tuesday Big 12 basketball tip-off, and I hope you can hear it. Boost the volume if you need to, because I think I also have it on my YouTube channel. But take the money now. My thing about taking the money now, just don't do what the ACC did. Okay,
don't
lock yourself into a 20-year commitment. Don't do that.
Yeah. No.
Okay, please don't do that. That's foolhardy and pound foolish. Don't do that. I'm surprised Andrew Marchand did not expound on, if waiting 16 months for other bidders, like who? Who else is going to bid on the Big 12? I don't see TBS, NBC, or CBS, because the Big 10 got in those windows.
Yep.
Because they took advantage of a shorter contract and they're able to get in line first. So who is going to be these other networks to bid on the Big 12? And I think the Pac-12 is going to experience that soon. So 40 million. And Will, to your comment, Will, this is the confidence of Brett Yormark. He said about requesting the bump to 400 million per year. He says, well, I'm a good salesman. So he's very confident.
I have something I'll tell you offline.
He's very confident.
Yeah.
They're expanding to, I think, 8 states and going from 40 million people in those, citizens in those states to 75 million. So that's part of his pitch. to these networks and part of his rationale to get this bump in pay. But let's see. I'm going to play the clip from Commissioner Yormark. It's about 4 minutes long. First part is about football scheduling. And then toward the end, you're really going to like it because I got comments to say after this about what I heard from colleagues while in Kansas City about some of these things that Brett Yormark said. So, Will, you might not be alone in your thoughts. So, Andy, Will, here we go. Brett Yormark, Commissioner at the Big 12 basketball tip-off from Tuesday. And this is before the reports got out Wednesday that an agreement could be reached within the next week to 2 weeks. So here we go, Brett Yormark from Tuesday at the Big 12 basketball tip-off.
What does a 14-team football schedule look like?
Well, it's funny you should say that. So we had a call this morning. We will not have divisions. We'll announce this next year's schedule in early December, which is pretty much when it has been done previously. And over a 2-year period, each of the schools will play each other at least once. So excited about what that schedule will look like when we finally put it out.
How would you work that out without divisions then? I guess what else does that kind of look like?
I'm not ready to comment more than that just now. It'll be released next month.
9 league games, that's stuff?
Yes, 9 league games. We'll announce it late November, early December, and I'm excited about what it'll look like.
Rivalries
preserved, absolutely. Looking at geography, obviously, from a student athlete perspective and travel. So all those principles are part of the decision making, but we'll end up in a great place.
Since we're at basketball, have you taken a look at what a 14-team league means for the basketball schedule?
It'll be an 18-game schedule, no different than what it is now. And over a 2-year period, each school will play, all the other members of the conference, both home and away.
5 and 8 is a breakdown on that potentially?
Yes, and potentially, and we'll release that in December also. For the go forward.
And there's been plenty of reports that Oklahoma's actually trying to negotiate it out.
My conversations with Oklahoma and Texas have always been about, being great members until they leave, which is in 25. And the experience has been very positive so far.
When you went into negotiations with ESPN and Fox, was it simply a matter of having a number in your head, or what were you looking for from
the economics matter, but I want a real partnership. And we have a great partnership with both. But everyone needs to step up their game. More marketing, more promotion, more support of our student athletes in all the right ways, more storytelling. Economics matter though, but it's those fringe benefits that make a deal or don't make a deal. But we're getting to a pretty good place. And again, if we don't do a deal now, it's okay. In 16 months, we'll get back at it, and we'll work through that exclusive negotiating period.
Are you still in the market for expansion if things are,
Well, as I've said before, back in July, we're open for business in every respect. Expansion being a part of that also. If there's an opportunity that something presents itself that's truly additive and creates value, extends your geographic footprint, potentially puts us in a fourth time zone, why not? But it's got to be all about value creation.
It's getting into that fourth time zone. Is that a real wish or really?
Well, listen, if we can offer continued scheduling flexibility for our media partners, we'd like to pursue it. But there's a lot that goes into that decision. And, again, we're vetting out any and all possibilities right now.
How about future championship sites? You've only been on the job for a few months now. But basketball's here for a while.
We love Kansas City. Prior to me coming on board, we extended to 27. The women come over next year in 24. So for the foreseeable future, we're here. But I would like to create some tentpole events, maybe outside of our championships, that give us an opportunity to showcase who we are and where we're going in major markets across this country, in an effort, obviously, to nationalize this conference. So everything's under consideration right now. But we're thrilled being here. I've heard wonderful things about this tournament, and for the foreseeable future, we'll be here.
What are your thoughts, Will? Go ahead.
Well, the first thing he said early in the statement, in his availability about the travel and the concern about student athlete travel, but then he talked about adding the fourth time zone. What? That was the first thing. I'm sitting here like, okay, interesting. But yeah, that was interesting. I'll defer the rest of my statements, but yeah, that was interesting.
Okay, next, not wasn't a clip. This part that I'm going to say was during his interview with, I forget her name. I think I forgot her name. I won't mess it up. When he was on the stage, just before he talked to us right there, one of his opening comments to the media, Andy, is we're going to move the media away from courtside for the conference tournament and sell those seats to fans. So the media will be sitting up in higher places in the building. We're going to raise ticket prices for the first time in 10 years of a tournament to generate additional revenue. So colleagues are like, so you're going to tell the media here at a media day that you're moving us out of our seats so you can sell tickets to the fans. That did not go over well at all.
Of course.
Next, Commissioner Yormark has been consistent in his goal to nationalize the Big 12. Numerous colleagues touched on what I mentioned last Sunday. Nationalizing the Big 12. This is an older conference, older fan base. Okay. And many of them said, good luck with that, Yormark. Okay. So, Andy, as a youngster, what is your reaction to that?
You're on mute.
Oh, I muted you. Yeah. Now we go. There we go.
Am I good? Audio
yes.
good?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Just what I was gonna say. That's something that Brett Yormark reiterated when he was here in Houston in terms of that goal, wanting to nationalize the conference, and then he said it again. I think he has that engraved into his memory in terms of open for business means basically all options to be able to help the brand that is the Big 12. When it comes to modernizing the Big 12 conference, it's interesting, especially when you look at kind of the origins behind it, where it's rooted, just in terms of, especially you don't think about it from a traditional standpoint. The Big 12 isn't necessarily when you look at some of the schools, if we're talking the Baylors of the world, the TCUs of the world, even the West Virginias of the world, it's going to be a process. It's not going to be a change that can be done overnight. If you look at it from that standpoint, where you can get specifically in regarding to the older alumni fan bases to be able to kind of get with, this is going to sound so cliche and so funny, but to get with the times, for the lack of a better phrase. And it's going to have to be a long process. They truly are committed to changing the ideology of the conference, which, and when I mean time, it's years. It's honestly probably decades when it comes to gradually having to change that. But I think his mind's in the right place, and it's something that has to be done if you want to, especially right now, because it's clear that the SEC and the Big Ten are the top conferences in all of college sports. So what are you going to do? One, you have to find a way to make yourself unique from that standpoint to stay alive. What makes you different from those conferences? Why should a national audience care about you, for the lack of a better phrase? And that's why I think what he has in mind, it's something that has to be done, because at the end of the day, and it's going to affect the TV contracts and all that stuff. If you're not going to be willing to adjust and change that ideology, a BYU Baylor game is not going to be able to be sustainable for long-term success if you keep doing what you've been doing, especially when it comes, you look at if his goal truly is to nationalize, well, what are you making the rest of the country do to care about a BYU Baylor game, a TCU, a TCU West Virginia game, and make those relevant to the rest of the country?
And he's trying. He wants the conference to become more culturally diverse.
Yeah.
So that will take time to do, for sure. The Big 12 hired a company the last few days to help with promotion of the conference, to help with modernizing the conference. That company has worked with a lot of Rock Nation clients, other clients that, currently are not Big 12 clients. So he's got a lot of grand ideas. One of the things he touched on about one of his talking points is storytelling. He wants more storytelling for all the players, student athletes, student assets, I say my word, in the conference. And he says one of the before new members joined July 1st, 2023, one phase of promotion will be done by that point to welcome in the new members to the conference. So the name of it is a creative agency. Name of the company is Translation. That's the name of the company, Translation. They are a creative partner that the Big 12 reached an agreement with on October 17th. So it's to help with the branding, help with the marketing, promotions, all those things. So he's got a lot of ideas, I think, and he's touched on it himself, that it's going to take 5 years, 10 years to see his plan come together and to see a lot of these changes take root. We'll see how that works, if it works. The younger Andy generation, they might be great with it. The older ones who are averse to change, what is this young man doing? What is this New Yorker doing? This outsider? What is he trying to do to our league, our conference, our university? So there might be a clash here and there. And he's talked about potentially moving the site of media days to different cities in the country. I'm kind of curious about his plan or idea of tentpole concerts and events. Okay, I want to see what that's going to do. How's that going to work? Will you shaking your head? But do you at least give him an A for effort? Will.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I understand. I understand. Yes, I understand. But I'm just looking at how do you market with all due respect. And, with all due respect typically means my next statement is going to disrespect someone. However, with all due respect, how do you nationally market Texas Tech? How do you nationally market BYU?
Well, BYU because of who they are, a Moment University, they are national. I mean, they're global.
Well, yeah, the university, but okay, they're BYU football. Yes, the university is global. The faith is is global, but the football program. And I know you and I talked about this earlier this week. I finally heard him say student athletes, because with all this marketing, with all these ideas, I never heard him mention the product. I never heard him mention the student athlete until just that statement, that clip there. So I mean, I understand the out of the box thinking. I understand you bring in a quote unquote outsider. I guess the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, I think so. And I read another article real quick, Andy, that he discussed that he met with, I didn't know this until I read it today, that he met with the student athlete advisory committees for each campus member school as part of his tour, his Big 12 tour. So he listed them, their listening tour that he had with everybody. So that's good to know. He listened to their suggestions, ideas, concerns. And he has said that one of their issues was more promotion for the non-football and non-basketball sports. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll see if that happens. He wants more promotion for women's basketball and women's sports. That's one of the things he wants from the media partners, to do more of that. We'll see. if it happens. Go ahead, Andy.
No, I was just gonna say at the end of the day, his job and what he's trying to do is to get more eyeballs on the conference. And again, going back to what I said earlier, it's something that has to be done because you're not going to catch up to the Big Ten and the SEC from a standpoint of what they've been able to establish. So you gotta you gotta start throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks and go from there. And being able to make the Big 12 unique. And I think it's interesting from that aspect of, if they do get to a point where they start rotating championship games, where they start rotating media day, kind of making it more of an event and a spectacle in and of itself, more so than the traditional football game or basketball game or whatever the sport is, from that aspect. And if they are able to get it, at least, again, what he said about nationalizing the conference and getting some interest in the West Coast, that makes it interesting because then you could get, if you are able to build it from an event standpoint, maybe you're trying to attract more people to get, to care about it. At the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do, to get interest in your product. And again, I feel like it's something that has to be done just to stay alive in what the conference landscape is. Now, at the end of the day, that's much to be said, because if you could throw everything on the wall, nothing sticks, well, then you're kind of screwed at that point. But I think it has to be done.
I mean, I think the Big 12 is an older demographic that has to adapt to the times. So that's important. We'll see if he makes good on it. Getting back to the money and discussed for the media rights deal, the numbers, like I said, it's a bump of between $5 and $8 million per year per school to get to like $33 million per school. That's from TV. Other money comes from the bowl games, the college football playoff, which is expanding, the NCAA tournament units, which for Big 12 men's hoops, and hopefully at some point there will be units for women's basketball as well. Because right now there are no units being paid for women's basketball from the tournament. That money goes in, and then sponsors, corporate sponsors, all of that pulls together to add up to conference payout. So there is a realistic chance that the Big 12 payout, like I said, it will never be Big 12, Big 10, SEC, but could get to $50 million, $260 million with conference payout, bowl games, college football playoff, NCAA tournament units. I mean, men's basketball may send 8, 9 teams to the tournament every year for the next 8, 10 years. If those teams advance to the tournament, get to the Final Four, that's more money for the conference. And that money gets distributed to everybody in the conference as well. So that's all part of it. So I learned this. I was naive to it, thinking media rights deal was the big hunk of money, which is a big hunk of money, but it's not all of the money. There's still more money that the conference gets as part of what they pay out to the member schools. Any thoughts on the potential of the Big 12 getting more money than the Pac-12 to pay out to the member schools?
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That would be interesting. Because I look at what's the remaining of the Pac-12, you still have your Arizona schools, you still have your Oregon schools, you still have your Washington schools. When you look at Seattle, you look at Phoenix, you look at the Portland area. Those markets trump Lubbock, Waco, and not to be, and just to be completely transparent, Cincinnati, Provo. So I don't know. I think the Pac-12. I think the Pac-12 would still put together a more attractive package than the Big 12.
But not in terms of fans, not in terms of fan base.
Well, yeah.
And then I'm curious to see what the Pac-12 will do. If the Big 12 and Commissioner Yormark reach an agreement soon to have an extension with their media rights deal from ESPN and Fox, then what for the Pac-12? They're going to the open market What's left?
Yeah.
Except digital platforms. And the Pac-12 is not the NFL in terms of ratings. Okay,
Right.
so Amazon Prime, whatever the hell it is, how many folks are going to watch the Pac-12 sports on Amazon or Apple? So in that scenario, if the Pac-12 goes that route, only that route, which I think would be a huge mistake, and a lot of the coaches would be like, okay, we're getting more money, but you're taking away our exposure because there's still more exposure on linear platforms than digital.
Yeah.
Then who's to say, will Arizona State, we don't want this. We want to go to the Big 12 now. So that's just some thoughts out there. Andy, we're going to wrap it up. So you can, before you go, cover the Astros Yankees game. How can folks find you on social media, sir?
Yes, sir. They can find me on Twitter at Yanez_5. It's cut off a little bit on the screen there, but there it's on the ticker at the bottom. Also, be sure to subscribe to the Pawd Slama Jama YouTube channel. That's PAWDSLAMAJAMA, which I have memorized down. Your one-stop shop for Houston Cougars football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. We are, last time I checked, we're at 382 subscribers, so slowly inching closer to 400, and obviously we're on the road to 1,000 subs. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel. It'll really help us out because once we get to 1,000, that's when we can really start cooking when it comes to monetizing with the channel. And if you're interested in sponsoring the Let's Rage Cougs post-game show, be sure to reach out to me at the emails you see once again in the ticker, letsragecougs@gmail.com, all lowercase, all letters, no extra symbols, just letsragecougs@gmail.com. I mean, that's pretty much it. Thank you again, Kris, for having me on your show. I'm going to have to hop off a little early because I do have to get on another one, but thanks again, sir.
Do your job, man. Will, Andy's part Jamaican. As many hats. So, go ahead, man. Take care. We'll see you this
bye,
Saturday.
y'all.
Take care.
See you.
All right,
yes,
boss.
sir. Bye, y'all.
Yep.
And we haven't touched on it very much, Will, but the Cougs football team beat a bad Navy team yesterday, 38-20.
Okay.
Setting up another game against a bad football team, South Florida, this Saturday, homecoming at Houston, 11 a.m. kickoff. I said yesterday on the Let's Rage Cougs post-game show, I predicted, it's not going to happen, but I predicted 30,000 fans will come to the homecoming game this Saturday.
Okay.
Will and Dayon said 20,000, 20 to 25,000.
Okay.
They're probably going to be closer to being right than me. But 30,000, I think, that's nothing. But in Houston, that's a lot. But that's where the program is. So you, Mr. The Ohio State, I think y'all get 30,000 for practice, right? Maybe.
Yeah, so it might have been a tailgate yesterday with about 30,000, maybe.
So you have the Cougs game against South Florida, 11 a.m. Central. Game will be on ESPN2.
Hey, watch out for Jeff Scott. He's coaching for his job. Don't think that's a gimme. Just saying.
Well, I mean, UH football have no business taking anyone for granted. So let's be clear on that. Yep. Saturday against Navy was their best offensive showing for the most part. They had just a cluster in the third quarter when they were just like, they looked awful. Fumbles, but it was Navy. So they're able to overcome that. So Houston is now above 500. And let me put this up real quick if I can do this. A little stat line from Saturday's game. They're above 500 overall. 2-1, Mr. Gibson, in the conference.
Yeah.
They beat South Florida. They go to 3-1. They don't play UCF or Cincinnati in the regular season. So they don't have a lot of difficult matchups on paper the rest of the regular season. So there's a chance they could do what they did last year, beat up on bad teams, and still not be a great team. But I digress. Anyway, what happened to the Browns today, sir?
A combination of things. I think, again, until you know how to win, you don't know how to win. And I said it 2 weeks ago. This team just doesn't know how to finish. And they just don't know how to finish. They lost today 23-20 to the Baltimore Ravens. And you would look at it and you would think if you hold Lamar Jackson to 120 yards passing and 59 yards rushing, no touchdowns, you would think you had a good shot to win. And you can't fault Jacoby Brissett this time. He threw for 258, no touchdowns, no interceptions, because there were 3 times this year he's thrown an interception in the waning moments. But there were a couple questionable calls by the officials, offensive pass interference that nullified a touchdown that could have won the game for Cleveland. But at this point, you're 2-5. You can't go around blaming the referees. I think this team just needs to know and learn how to finish. And they're 5 weeks away from Deshaun, and I think that's really now what the countdown is. They're 2-5. They have Cincinnati coming into Cleveland on Monday night next week. If they go 2-6, strike up the band at that point, because it's over at 2-6. And at that point, you will be 1-2 in the division. So it's now time. And then defense played well. There have been calls for the defensive coordinator, Joe Woods, to lose his job. Defense played well. It's just they don't know how to win.
Mm-hmm.
And until you know how to win, you don't know how to win, if that makes sense. I mean, they just have to learn how to win. And I think now people are just waiting for December 4th when Deshaun Watson, and they think Deshaun Watson is going to be cure-all. He's going to come in, and they're going to go 5-0. Because that was the whole thing. The thing was, if they can get to 5-6, 6-5 without Deshaun, Deshaun's going to come in, they go 5-1 at worst, and then they'll be in the playoffs. Well, now they're 2-5.
Yeah.
So it's no longer Deshaun's going to come in and get us to the playoffs. It's our job is going to be maintained at 2-5, and I think so. I don't think they're in a position to fire anyone. I've been wrong before. Let me check my phone. Hopefully that I don't get an alert right now, but I don't foresee that happening.
Are you surprised going to the NBA? Are you surprised Philly's 0-3?
Yeah, because they lost to the Spurs.
Yes.
With Embiid scoring 40.
Yes.
That's nuts. They lost to the Spurs. I mean, and that goes to the adage on any given night. Because, yeah, to lose. I mean, Boston opening night, okay. Milwaukee, okay. The Spurs? Nah. No one saw that.
And they look bad. Their defense looked really bad in that game to the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Ask you about the Sixers 0-3 start. Rocket fans should not be surprised at the Rockets 0-3 start.
No.
Because of who they played. They played the Hawks at the Hawks. Home against Jama, the Grizzlies. And then on the road against Yanez and the Bucks. The Rockets are not better than any of those teams.
No.
Okay? And yet there are fans calling for Stephen Silas to be fired.
Why?
I mean, and I asked some of them last night on the show on Let's Talk Houston Rockets. Why do you want him fired if you're trying to, if your goal is to be bad enough to improve your shot to get Victor Wembanyama?
Yeah.
So wouldn't a new coach, supposedly a better coach, improve the Rockets' chances of winning more games, which would then lessen your chance of getting Victor Wembanyama? So
right.
You can't have it both ways.
Right.
So I'm surprised Utah is off to a great start. Well, good start.
Oh, you should hear the fans in Cleveland now. See, it wasn't Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton was the answer. Okay.
Yeah. No.
Okay. I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Utah, I think they'll reach their plateau soon, because at some point, Danny Ainge will be like, fellas,
right.
We're trying to lose games here to get Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson. Y'all need to, okay, slow down now. Pride is one thing, but I'm thinking long term. Okay.
Right.
So So it's just one of those things. I get a kick out of it. Fans are fans. Fans have a different perspective than media, which is are they fans?
Yeah.
And so that's understandable. Well, the Buckeyes beat Iowa yesterday, right?
Yes, sir. 54-10.
Iowa's offense seems like it's from like the 1800s.
Well, here's the thing. It's the most blatant case of nepotism in college football history. Kirk Ferentz is the head coach of Iowa. Brian Ferentz is the offensive coordinator. Brian Ferentz is Kirk Ferentz's son. He's not going anywhere. Iowa has scored 7 offensive touchdowns for the entire season. Ohio State has 3 wide receivers with 5 touchdown receptions this season. CJ Stroud has 29 touchdown passes this season. Iowa, as an offense in totality, has 7 offensive touchdowns this season. The touchdown they scored yesterday was a defensive touchdown.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That says it all right there. I mean, those numbers, those are facts. So Iowa, you get what you got. You wanted that. You allowed it to happen. Now you got it.
Yep.
So now you're dealing with it. And their offense, it's a bad joke. I mean, it really is a bad joke going forward. I'm bouncing around because we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Jimbo Fisher fans, how you doing? I'm going to say it like that. How you doing? Mr. Gibson, how can folks find you on social media?
You can find me on social media. The handle there at Will Gibson 7 on both Twitter and the Gram. And also on WTGsports.com. But can I say one thing real quick?
Yes, sir.
The Big 12 related. I'm topical. I'm sticking with the topic. Shout out to Luke Fickell, Cincinnati head coach, who became the all-time winningest coach in school history yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Beating, I believe, SMU. That's who they beat.
Right.
And he became the all-time winningest coach in UC Bearcat history. So kudos to him.
Appreciate that, sir. And I'm Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Twitter, well, you see it right there, big screen. Will,
yes, sir.
I am now, the Houston Roundball Review is now on TikTok.
Wow.
Yes, now on TikTok at Houston Roundball Review. Keep it simple, consistent.
Yeah.
Same on YouTube and the Gram, Houston Roundball Review. HoustonRoundballReview.com is the website. I will not dance. Okay.
Okay.
I might, there's a chance at some point I might sing. I said that a few times. I might do that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way I'm going to do a dance for TikTok. No whatsoever. But
Can you tell your story?
Yes.
Can you tell your story from the Toyota Center the other night?
Man, I told it last night, and I'll tell it again if anybody's new. No, I'm
okay.
gonna tell it again because it's just something else to me. I'm walking into the game Friday night for the Rockets home opener, going into the media entrance with the admin entrance / media entrance. And this young lady, 14 years old, maybe 14, 15, whatever. She was young. Okay. Puts her smartphone down to prop it up on a pole. Okay. And at first I'm like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
Is it broken? What is she doing? Then she takes a few steps back to be with her friend. And the two of them proceed to do a dance routine. I mean, the hand things, everything together in tandem for TikTok. So I'm just shaking my head as I walk by him and it's like, yep, I'm old. It's another generation. Because, So, and then I put that on Twitter and I asked a friend say that the high school kids, that's all they do. I'm like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I learned something new right there. So youngsters, if you're going to do that, I hope you're getting paid for it. Good. That's my thing. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Don't make sense.
So wrap it up. I'm Kris Gardner of Houston Roundball Review, HoustonRoundballReview.com. Thank you once again to Gabe Warren for joining us in the first segment of this show. He's the most recent commit to the Rice Owls men's basketball program. Good luck to him this season, and good luck to him when he gets to H-Town next season to join the Owls. So that's another thing that we're trying to do, get more of the kids who commit, announce their commitments most likely on the gram, but then have them come on this show on Folks Talkin Sports to discuss it. So hopefully that'll happen more in the future. So as always, thank you to the folks who watched us on the Houston Roundball Review, as well as on the Folks Talk Sports Twitter account, which I did not plug enough because I want to get Gabe's info on there. But Folks Talk Sports, FOLKSTALKSPORTS on Twitter. So thank you very much to everybody who watched us on YouTube. Tony M. Brandon, Mr. Rockets will win 33 games this year. He said that last year too, so he's consistent. So thank you as always for everybody doing that. Kudos to Yanez for his info and insight about the Cougs Longhorns scrimmage. And remember, Cougs and Duke will scrimmage this Saturday. I'm not going to give the location. I know where it is. Folks will find out eventually. It's not a secret. You'll find out. And if you're wondering, if you're missing James Mueller, James had another commitment this evening, so he was unable to join us. But hopefully next week he'll be able to join us. So in conclusion, we'll see you next Sunday on another edition of Folks Talkin Sports. Take care. Peace.